Oh,
That's not mine's a black.
Welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS TV and streamed on AACPS's YouTube channel. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on a sign by the doorway as you enter the room, so please make sure you read those if you have not already done so. And now for our invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. And now for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
And now we're going to move to item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve minutes as written.
Second.
Second, consensus? We have consensus. Item 2.04, establishment of our agenda order. A motion?
Move to establish agenda as printed.
Second.
We have consensus? We do? Okay. So public comments on agenda items. We do not have any public comments on agenda items this afternoon. So we'll move on to our reports. Item 4.01, our CRASC report.
Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, Dr. Bedell, and members of the board. My name is Jason Semenoff Jr., and I'm a proud incoming freshman at Chesapeake High School. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm so excited to be serving as the CRASC Secretary of Education. For those unfamiliar with CRASC, CRASC stands for the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. Our exec team consists of 7 elected and 28 appointed members to represent the voice of all secondary students in AACPS. CRASC works to develop leadership skills, promote good sportsmanship, and initiate improvements and activities for the general good of AACPS students. In addition, CRASC is the governing body that annually elects the AACPS student member of the board. Applications for the CRASC executive team closed on June 30th. CRASC received over 60 applications this year. I'm so excited to announce that the appointed staff for the upcoming year. On this slide, you'll find the names and positions of all 28 new appointed staff. On July 1st, the CRASC officer team was sworn in, and President Michelle Fidel established 3 new positions on the executive team for the upcoming year: Civic Engagement Coordinator, Public Relations, and the Mental Health Coordinator. The position of Civic Engagement Coordinator has been created to improve community, political, and educational initiatives. Will Adrione will be our Civic Engagement Coordinator for this year, working closely with community members and individual school leaders in an effort to encourage student engagement. The Office of Public Relations is dedicated to broadening student understanding of CRASC, how we operate, our achievements, and promote upcoming events. Alana Lam will be taking this role. Through her efforts, communication between CRASC and all AACPS students will be greatly improved. Our Mental Health Coordinator, Hayden Griffith, is passionate about mental health and will be working towards increasing mental health initiatives in our schools. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to the Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation for funding 46 high school and 45 middle school students to attend the Maryland Leadership Workshop camps this summer. This week-long residential experience at Washington College provided our students an opportunity to grow in self-awareness, set measurable goals, and collaborate with peers in diverse groups. We are so grateful for our partnership with AAWDC, specifically Ms. Elizabeth Dupre, for supporting the growth of our student leaders. On August 5th through 7th, the Maryland Association of Student Councils, or MASC, hosted its annual advanced conference. During this event, students earned MASC Workshop Presenter certification, created workshops for the Fall Leadership Conference, and attended the first MASC Executive Board meeting of the year. And finally, as part of our annual tradition, CRASC will be hosting our first executive team retreat tomorrow on August 22nd, 2024 at Arlington Echo. This retreat is an opportunity for members of the executive team to connect and bond with one another through various team building activities. Focus will also be placed on discussing objectives, planning, and goal setting for the 2024-2025 school year. Be sure to check out our website and the CRASC Brightspace for a list of upcoming events. As summer is coming to an end, we are all so excited to get our schedules, see friends, and see our teachers again. We wish teachers, staff, and students a safe, healthy, and amazing school year. That's all from me. See you in September for the next CRASC report.
Thank you. Great job. And now we're moving on to item 4.02, our president's report. And we do have some things to talk about on July the 30th and 31st. Several of us had the opportunity to attend the RISE, Re-envisioning Instruction and Strategic Supports for Educators, which is Anne Arundel County Schools' premier summer professional development conference. It was amazing, and I was ecstatic to be able to attend that. The conference covers a broad spectrum of topics addressing the professional learning and development needs of all staff members across the school system. Let me see. On Thursday, I believe it was August 1st, Dr. Tobin and I think Ms. Schauheim and I, Dr. Tobin and Ms. Schauheim attended the Special Education Symposium at Crofton High School, I believe. And would either one of you like to make any comments about that? I'll give both of you the opportunity. Dr. Tobin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just want to extend my congratulations to all the staff who organized that conference. I think it was fabulous. I know I personally learned a huge amount. I think it was an extraordinary move forward for all of our special educators and special education and our families. So I just want to extend my thanks and congratulations. And I'm just amazed this was how good it was the first year. So I'm looking for great things moving forward. Thank you.
Ms. Schauheim.
I completely agree. It was outstanding. The sessions were informative. I also learned so much. It just put me in a great mood. It was just an amazing opportunity. And for it to be the first one and be like that, oh my goodness. Like I think subsequent years, it'll be something that I'll want to know about far in advance so I can plan my summer around it, because it was that good. Thank you.
On August the 8th, several of us also had the opportunity to attend the summer school graduation at Frontenac Park High School. I have to tell you, this is always one of our inspirational graduation events this year, and it certainly was. So congratulations to all of our graduates. On August the 13th, in the morning, I attended the new teacher orientation held at Crofton High School. Had the honor to bring greetings from the Board of Ed and to provide some comments about the upcoming school year and my thoughts about the importance and the value of building relationships. There was an unbelievable amount of excitement in the room at that time, and we're actually seeing that everywhere. In the afternoon, I was able to attend an event at Southern High School. I had the privilege to attend the HELP conference to hear remarks from Dr. Bedell regarding an overview of the strategic plan. Once again, there was a great deal of enthusiasm and excitement, and we thank you, Dr. Bedell, for that. On Saturday, the 17th, I attended the annual Meade and North County Cluster Back to School Party with Dr. Tobin, Ms. Schauheim, Dr. Bedell, and of course, Gloria Dent. This was held at Van Bachlen Elementary Schools, and our lead sponsors were Consolidated, I believe, Enterprise Mobility, Live Casino, along with many community partners. Students and families in the Meade and North County area were invited. Over 1,000 backpacks were distributed to students for the new school year. There was free food and ice cream, and again, a great deal of excitement for the new school year.
Robert, can I just say something about?
You certainly can, Ms. Schauheim.
What a great event. What a really amazing event. And I think our colleague Gloria Dent deserves the lion's share of the credit for putting this on. It was incredible. I mean, when I showed up, it all looked like nothing had happened, but apparently the skies opened and it was like a torrential downpour about 20 minutes before that. You wouldn't have known. The line was, it looked like someone was selling concert tickets, for like Taylor Swift or something, because like the line was super long. It was down the sidewalk and almost to the end of the building. And it was just a really cool event. So massive kudos to you.
Thank you, Ms. Schauheim. Ms. Dent, would you like to make a few comments?
I would love to say a few words. I would tell you that.
Is your mic, please?
Mr. Mosier probably seen us meet at stress. I don't stress very often, but I do want to say thank you to you publicly, Mr. Mosier, because there's not a lot of people that can calm me down. And he was the ultimate. So you're always invited to my events going forward. But it's true. We just put the backpacks out, all 1,000 of them. And then it said the rain was only supposed to be 20%. And somewhere along the line, God had a sense of humor and he did 100% of rain as soon as we got the backpacks out. But we had such a great team. And so shout out to all of the volunteers. We had over 75 volunteers this year. And so I can't say enough about it, from student volunteers to adult volunteers to the Divine Nine volunteers, just amazing. And so altogether, it was great to see over 1,200 families enjoy a free festivity. So I thank my board members personally for showing up and showing out. They thought they were just going to come and take a look, but they got knee deep into getting to work, making children smile. So I thank you all for supporting the event. And we look forward to our 5th event next year, the 5th anniversary of the Meade North County Back to School Block Party. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dent. So on Monday, the 19th, it's actually been a busy couple of weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Bedell and staff held the first of our Partners in Progress events here in the boardroom, and there are more to come. So stay tuned for that. And yesterday, Tuesday, our school system, once again this year, partnered with WBAL TV, Channel 11, WBAL Radio, 98 Rock, and Walmart for the Stuff the Bus campaign. And there were so many people that came out to donate school supplies, and these school supplies will be utilized by the Community Schools Program and provided as needed to students in need at those schools. It was a great event, and we raised, I'm not going to say. I'm going to leave that for Dr. Bedell. I'm going to let Dr. Bedell give that great news. I will tell you that the event did run from 2 to 7 p.m. Yesterday, August the 20th, at the Walmart on George Klaus Drive in Severn. And there were live interviews actually on Channel 11's newscast at 5 points from 4 to 6:30 p.m. And some of us had the opportunity to get on camera and express how thankful we are for so many stakeholders to come out for our kids. So I know there, Michelle, you were there.
Yes, and so was Dr.
Dr.
Tobin.
Tobin, yes.
And for multiple years in a row, I believe. And
Mhm.
and what was different about this particular year, other than the fact that the weather cooperated, because it was really way too warm for people to be out there for that many hours last year. This year it was glorious. And it was I just give massive kudos to all the staff, and their enthusiasm was contagious. And just thank you. Thank you for putting that on. I know where we were at 4:30 and I posted about it. So can I say that number, or should we really wait?
Dr. Bedell is going to give us.
We'll
that
wait.
number.
It was a huge number at 4:30 though. I'm just saying.
It was a good number at 4:30, and I have to
Yeah.
tell you, we were competing. I believe it was Harford County.
A number of counties.
Well, there were a number of counties, but Harford, I think, was one that had one of the highest totals in recent days. And so we're a very competitive county in many ways. And it showed yesterday. As I look out at staff, I see so many of our staff members out there who once again came out and gave your time for our kids. And I applaud every one of you for that. Thank you so much. So I'm about to conclude my report. There are a few upcoming events that are important to mention. Thursday, the 22nd, I believe it's 11 o'clock, we will have a ceremony at Old Middle South, the opening of the new school. And on Saturday, the 24th, we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony. I believe it's 10 o'clock, Severn Run High School. And Monday, the 26th at 1 p.m., the Two Rivers Elementary. There's some great excitement out there, not just for the opening of new schools, but for the opening of all of our schools. I will say that there was a teacher friend of mine that I talked to at the event yesterday at one of our middle schools. And I was so excited to hear from him the excitement that he says is out there in our schools amongst our staff. We are getting ready to open up a new school year, and we are also excited for that. When it comes to these three events, everyone's invited. And so we welcome this new year. We look forward to the openings. And having said that, that does, Ms. Dent, is your the light on? You have something? Okay. Having said that, that does conclude the president's report. And so we're going to go to item 4.03, our superintendent's report. Dr. Bedell.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. This is great. I'll be able to abbreviate half of these after your report, so I really appreciate you. So let's just start off on this first slide with our partners in progress. We are excited about where we're heading, and generally, most of the things that I usually will cover in this report will be part of our readiness for opening of schools presentation that will happen in a few minutes here. But I do have a couple of items. I do want to thank those who came out on Monday night for our first partners in progress, moving AACPS forward. And it was a little bit different than what will happen with the dates with the other sites you see here. We were doing this in partnership with the NAACP, which also I think we need to make sure that AACPS also does one in this area to make sure that that our community gets similar experience. So that's something I will definitely talk to staff about. But I mean, ultimately, these are designed to engage and inform the public about where we are, where we want to go, where we need their help as we prepare to implement a brand new strategic plan and educating them on that strategic plan. We also know that cell phone guidelines and grading regulations, those things are items that we will focus on in the conversation. So we're looking forward to engaging the community at a deeper level with all of these initiatives. As you've heard a few minutes ago, yesterday we did have that opportunity to attend the Tim Tootin Stuff the Bus campaign that was in Severn at the Walmart yesterday. And so I want to share with you what happened over the course of 5 hours. Our community donated $59,563 in school supplies, the most of any drive so far this year. So we want to thank our community for stepping up in a very big way. And we also want to thank those who donated, to all of our school staff members who were there, to our students who showed up, to WBAL TV, WBAL Radio, 98 Rock, and Walmart for their sponsorship of this event. The energy, as you heard from Mr. Silkworth, was pretty high. So we are excited about what this will do for students in need. We already talked about Ms. Dent's event, the block party at Van Bockelen Elementary School. I look forward to that event every single year because I just think it really truly shows this sense of community that comes together on a large scale to make sure that our students have backpacks and school supplies and food, and also just valuable information that they may need as they're getting ready to start this school year. I also want to thank Van Bockelen Principal Kelly Shell Ramey and her team for all that they did at that particular school to make this successful. I had the pleasure of spending some time last week at the community day in the Boone's Mobile Estate community, and I got the opportunity to talk to families and school staff. It was a great event and just another chance to talk about the great things that are happening in our school district and to also hear from families about ways we can continue to get even better. This is something that I've done the last couple of years, and really I just enjoy how all of our administrators across the cluster comes together to serve kids, elementary, middle, and high school. And so I had a good time and didn't want to leave. I literally had a meeting that started at 10:30 here, and I walked in this building at 10:29 because I did not want to leave. I was having a good time out there. 2 weeks ago, I spent a few hours with our police chief, Amar Awad, attending 4 national night out events in our communities. These were amazing opportunities to help reiterate the important role police have, not just in community safety, but in the ways of partnership and resources. We have a great partner in our police department, and I thank our chief and all that she and her team are doing to help make our communities better. We will continue to work with her on crossing guards. We want to see that number decrease, and you will see an update on where we are in the opening of schools with that particular area. And then as another step to keep our community informed, I'm going to be doing weekly video messages this year about a variety of topics. They will be called Thursday Thought and will be posted on our social media pages and on our website each week. So be on the lookout for these. They generally will be 2 minutes or less. The first one will be posted tomorrow, just a way to keep our community informed in an unscripted manner. So they get to hear directly from me. Finally, I want to remind everyone of the new strategic plan crafted by our community and approved by this board. The vision is simple. It's just 16 words. Anne Arundel County Public Schools is a school community where everyone can belong, grow, and succeed. The plan has in it a portrait of a graduate, which was also crafted by our community. It is why they want to see our students. It is what they want to see our students be when they receive their diplomas. As we get ready for our readiness presentation, before we run this video, I want you to hear about that portrait from our students themselves. So hold on before you roll it, because I think it's important. When you have a strategic plan that has been launched as of July 1, and you have students already in their remarks referring to belong, grow, and succeed, and it's already penetrated down to students, most students can't speak to a strategic plan. This has already caught on with our students. That says a lot about the potential buy-in that we will have in our ability to be able to implement this strategic plan throughout this system. And again, I have to commend the community, all of the focus groups, Michael Dickerson leading this, Bob Mosier making sure that they got put together, the board members who participated on that planning, in engaging with putting this together. We have something, everybody. 14 pages, very easy to follow, and just watch out. That's all I will say to people. Watch out. So let's go ahead and show this video of a portrait from our students, and then that will conclude my report.
When I graduate from AACPS,
I will be future ready.
I set ambitious goals,
Create and implement flexible plans
and use my knowledge and skills to live independently.
learning, growing, and thriving.
in an ever-changing world.
I'm an AACPS student.
I'm an AACPS student.
I'm an AACPS student.
I'm an AACPS student, of course.
I will be future ready.
When I graduate
When I graduate,
from AACPS,
I'll be an effective collaborator.
I form
meaningful relationships,
Skillfully communicate
and work with diverse groups of people.
to achieve common goals.
I'm an AACPS student, of course.
I'll be an effective collaborator when I graduate.
When I graduate from AACPS, I'll be a critical thinker.
I analyze information
Resources, perspectives, and experience
to weigh opinions, formulate well-reasoned conclusions.
solve problems, and navigate challenges.
I'm an AACPS student.
Of course, I'll be a critical thinker when I graduate. When I graduate,
From AACPS,
I will be a curious learner. I ask questions, explore ideas, and embrace new opportunities.
so I can understand the world.
and build a better
Future for myself and my community.
I am an AACPS student.
Of course, I'll be a curious learner.
When I graduate
From AACPS, I will be an empathetic community member. I demonstrate sensitivity, concern,
understanding, and respect
for
for the experiences and feelings of others
to better the community.
I'm an AACPS student.
Of course, I'll be an empathetic community member
when I graduate.
So what's important for this board and this community to hear is that when we talk about creating a sense of belonging, you saw that articulated on here. Generally, there are certain kids that probably in the past would not have been included in a video like this. We want to make sure that regardless of who you are, how you show up, what conditions you were born with that are beyond your control, that we've created a sense of belonging. And sometimes that doesn't mean that we require people who show up differently to assimilate into the way that we see the world. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we're talking about making sure that every single kid gets touched in the way that they deserve to be touched in this school district. And I constantly have utilized how we have done commencements in this county in the past and what we've done to change that experience. I don't care if it's one kid at Central Special that's walking that stage. When we go to that school to do their commencement, we're going to be in our regalia. They're going to have a program that doesn't focus on it just being a certificate program. They're going to have a similar program with the similar quality that our comprehensive school students get when they go to Maryland Live. And if it means rather than standing up to tell our kids that you need to stand up because that's how we give diplomas, if a kid sits on that floor because their disability says that that's what they do, we sit on that floor with them and we give them their high school diploma and we give these families the pictures and the memories that they deserve. That's why a sense of belonging matters. That's why diversity, equity, and inclusion matters. Everybody in this district deserves to be treated in a fair and just manner, and I will be relentless in that pursuit, and I will not allow for any political agendas or any adult-centered agendas to move us off of that. That's what this plan calls for. Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Ms. Crocodile.
Thank you, President Silkworth. Dr. Bedell, I just wanted to say on behalf of the community, thank you so much for going down and visiting one of our communities. Just like you were saying, we are turning a new page and a new chapter. And belonging includes actually engaging with folks. And you have continued to demonstrate that. And so I want to thank you very much on behalf of South County. We've got a lot of work to do ahead of us. Education is changing by the day, and we can't control a lot of it. But what we can control is how we engage with our community. And what we just heard over the last 30 minutes or so was little snippets in time of ways that we're trying to make a big difference for each and every student. And so I just want to thank you for that and say that that part of belong, that was so representative. Real people living real lives and how we help support them so that these students can be raised to be adults that our society and our community can be very proud of. I am personally very proud of each and every single one of our students. Whether they stumble, whether they fall, we are here to help them get back up again, no matter how many times it happens. And I'll just say, lastly, the adults in the room that you were referring to, absolutely. Too often we make all these big decisions as adults, and then we expect our kids just to somehow magically fit into the keyhole that we created. And I am very pleased to see that we have leadership here among our colleagues and among you and your staff that is going to change that, make the keyhole bigger, and make sure that each and every single student fits. Thank you very much.
Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned the Partners in Progress, Dr. Bedell, and you started off by saying that they're going to be coming to Chesapeake High School and that you're going to sort of start the tour there. I had some questions about that initiative. You're collaborating with the NAACP. Are there any other community groups that you're collaborating with at this time?
No, because the NAACP actually came to us and we did this last year where we gave an update at Maryland Hall to the community. I think it was a way for them to hear from the police departments and some of the other in the NAACP as a whole. But no, what we're doing is really a focus for AACPS, and with these, we basically did a dry run, or we tried to do a dry run, and there were some issues that occurred as a result. And so, no, that was the only entity that had approached us about doing a meeting together, because we did it last year.
Okay, so if the focus is on belonging, I would also encourage you to look at other community groups, because if you're worried about agendas and adult agendas and political agendas, I would certainly say that there are some that come out of certain community groups. And if you don't want to be perceived in that way, I would broaden that a little bit.
Yeah, I think any of those groups are welcome to come to any of these meetings that we have and participate with us.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to be moving on to item 5.01, a presentation, the readiness for opening of our schools. Dr.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. As staff prepare to come up to move us through the opening of schools, this is an annual update that we provide where you all will receive information related to school preparations for the 24-25 school year, which will begin on August 26th. The presentation will center on how we are centering ourselves academically, on where we are from a human resources standpoint with staffing to facility readiness, and also staffing within the facility division. And so, yeah, we're in for some really good news, and I will not take your thunder. We'll pass it over to you all.
Thank you. So good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, Dr. Bedell, members of the board. I'm here this afternoon with two of my colleagues to provide you with an update on our readiness for the opening of schools. My name is Christina Catalano, and I'm the Chief Academic Officer in Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Cutchis, Chief Human Resources Officer.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Heiser, Chief Operating Officer.
So I'm going to begin with academics. In academics, we have spent a lot of time this summer both serving our students and preparing for our students in alignment with our new strategic plan. This time has been spent intentionally so that upon their return, our students and our staff feel that in school year 24-25, they are in a system where they belong, they will grow, and they will succeed. As I walk through how we have been serving and preparing for our students, you will notice alignment to 4 priorities of our strategic plan: achieving academic excellence, future readiness and transitional preparedness, investing in our staff, and supporting the whole child. My portion of today's presentation will be longer. However, it will highlight the way in which we as a system are focused on academics and high-quality teaching and learning in all of our classrooms in service of all of our students in AACPS. So in academics, we do use a lot of acronyms. They are on the screen, but you also have a copy to translate the acronyms in front of you. I will use the entire phrase the first time I use the term, and then subsequently I will use the acronym. So this summer, as I mentioned, we did spend much time servicing our students across the system. We had an opportunity to serve our students with disabilities through our extended school year program. 1,225 students participated in ESY this summer. Of the 45 programs across 13 locations, 27 of them were at the elementary level, 10 were at the secondary level, and 8 of those programs were held at one of our specialty schools, across 3 of our specialty schools. We also offered a host of programs that focused on literacy, mathematics, enrichment, and acceleration aimed to reduce academic gaps. We offered 50 different programs that were sponsored by either AACPS or an outside partner, with almost 500 sessions running between June 24th and August 23rd. Over 6,000 students participated across the district from pre-K through grade 12. At the middle school level, approximately 600 classes were accessed and approximately 2,700 credits were recovered at the high school level. Our students in AACPS deserve high quality, engaging literacy instruction. To that end, we have committed to providing evidence-based resources aligned to practices to build literacy skills. We will launch our first year of implementation of the high-quality instructional materials that are part of the Core Knowledge Language Arts Program, or CKLA. These materials will provide our students with a breadth of knowledge by immersing them in shared and diverse experiences using complex text, all while harnessing the science of reading to provide systematic reading instruction. We began preparing for this implementation during last school year through learning opportunities for our school leaders and our literacy teachers in our elementary schools. This allowed us to support all of our literacy leaders in our elementary schools. Additionally, last year, 14 of our schools served as early adoption schools, with 2 grade levels per school participating in this learning opportunity. These early adopters provided us with critical feedback and lessons learned to inform our planning work as we were taking this to scale. Over the summer, there have been offerings for our school-based leaders, our literacy teachers, and our teachers who will be implementing CKLA. Yesterday and today, members of our staff have been engaging in an additional 6 hours of CKLA training that includes the science of reading. Science of reading training will continue over the course of next school year. We will use our early dismissals as an opportunity to train our teachers across 4 modules. Additionally, leaders in our schools and central office will participate in science of reading training through MSDE, which will allow us as a system to build a literacy leader coalition so that we can enhance our practice and further our work to better understand the implementation of science of reading in our secondary grades. As we move into our second year of implementation for Reveal Math, our focus is going to continue to be on building teacher capacity around their content knowledge and the use of the instructional materials. We know that teacher mathematical content knowledge is critical to being able to foster deep understanding for our students. This summer, we provided opportunities for our staff to build their knowledge around what it means to model mathematically and to reason mathematically. This supports teachers in delivering instruction aligned to standards that promote our students' mathematical reasoning. We also spent time, moving into next school year, we will have continue with what we did last year, which is where we had a subject matter expert in each of our buildings. So we will use our subject matter experts to build their content knowledge, enhance their skills for implementation of the curriculum, and then they will have the opportunity to go back into their buildings to support the implementation of Reveal in the building. This summer, we engaged in summer curriculum workshops. As you can see, 65 courses were either written, revised, or updated this summer across 16 content or program areas. We had 169 writers representing grades pre-K through 12. Staff who participate in our curriculum writing do apply for this position. They receive intensive training, including use of our learning management system, as well as equity training that aligns to culturally responsive instruction. In preparing for our students and our opening, it has been critical that we do that through the lens of our diverse learners. Prior to the start of summer, we launched the Office of Specialized Instruction and Early Intervention Services. The intentional reorganization was rooted in our student outcome data for our students with disabilities and the need to better support our schools, our students, and our families of students with disabilities. This new division will allow us to provide focused, research-based, aligned support to our students with disabilities, their families, and their teachers. Our multilingual language population is one of our fastest growing populations in AACPS. Additionally, our students in need of English language development, or ELD, are also our most stagnant student group across multiple measures of academic outcomes. Based on that achievement data for our multilingual learner students, we have implemented strategic actions and plans to support their learning. This year, we have reorganized our ELD office to ensure that we are better able to support and build capacity with our teachers and our instructional staff. We will now be able to differentiate support for our elementary and secondary ELD teachers. Additionally, this year, we will use a new assessment with our multilingual learners called the Last Links Assessment. This will allow us to more regularly monitor students' language acquisition. It is aligned to the WIDA assessment, and it will serve as a temperature check so that we can measure language acquisition and respond to it prior to students taking the WIDA assessment. Finally, we will implement the new Language Studio curriculum with our multilingual learners. This curriculum aligns with CKLA, and training for our elementary English language development teachers begins this month. The 2024-25 school year will be our second year of implementing the fully expanded program for our Enhancing Elementary Excellence program in all of our elementary schools. This year, we will have a team of 110 teachers across our schools who will teach our Triple E themes. Again, our themes for Triple E are STEM and Society, Arts and Humanities, Global Studies, and World Culture and Language. With regard to our gifted and advanced learners, we are continuing to look for ways to expand opportunities. In response to Dr. Bedell's post-entry plan, our Advanced Learning Programs, or ALPS, office has been collaborating with a variety of stakeholders to develop a 5-year plan for growth that will increase opportunities for our gifted and advanced learners. New this year, we will have third graders, approximately 100 of them, in our district participate in a new Math 3-4 course. This will be a compacted math course to accelerate mathematical growth with our elementary students. This course will be the first on an accelerated math pathway. ALPS will be field testing 2 new courses at the secondary level this year in select middle schools. An advanced ELA 8 course will be field tested at Arundel Middle, Brooklyn Park Middle, and Crofton Middle. An enhanced Algebra 1 course will be field tested at Annapolis Middle, Chesapeake Bay Middle, and Southern Middle. As we start the new school year, we are going to be utilizing 2 grounding documents to ensure that high-quality teaching and learning is occurring across all of our classes. While we have had our teaching and learning framework for many years, this year we will implement a new rubric to support improved instruction in our classrooms. The revised rubric for our teaching and learning framework will take us from 34 indicators to 17 indicators, allowing a much more narrowed focus for our teachers and leaders. This will also create common language for both our observers and our teachers. Having fewer indicators will also assist our school and central office leaders in calibrating when we are observing instruction in the classroom. Secondly, last spring, we launched our Anne Arundel instructional model. This model was used to develop our school improvement plans. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But this model was really designed to serve as a framework for identifying, implementing, and scaling highly effective instructional practices. It also assists our educators with normed language to use when they are discussing and implementing instructional cycles. So as I continue and move on to priority area 2, I do want to start with our youngest learners. Our application numbers for pre-K continue to grow every year. This year, we nearly doubled the number of applicants for our pre-K 4-year-old classrooms. Specifically, we went from 2,176 pre-K 4 applications in 2023 to 3,898 applications in 2024. Applications for our pre-K 3 classrooms have also outweighed the number of seats we have available. This year, we had a total of 1,450 applications for pre-K 3s. That's compared to 867 applications last year. So to that end, you can see that we are working to expand pre-K options for our community. I do want to highlight that 49 schools, yes, 49 of our schools have received accreditation through MSDE, but even better, 48 of them have received an Excel's quality rating of a 5, which is exceptional. Yes, 20 of our schools that host our pre-K programs will begin that Maryland accreditation and Maryland Excels process this school year. So in addition to working to transition our youngest learners, we are also strengthening the supports we are providing to secondary students as they prepare for high school and as they prepare for their post-secondary pathways. In alignment to Maryland's blueprint, we will continue to implement the use of career coaches across our middle schools, and we will expand this year to our high schools. So in the 2023-24 school year, we launched a career coach in every one of our middle schools. They will continue to be in our middle schools this year, and every one of our high schools will also have a career coach. The work of our career coaches does occur through a partnership with the Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation and Anne Arundel Community College. In addition to preparing our students for entering the workforce, whether that's directly from high school or after college, we are also providing supports that will prepare our students for when they enter college. We have finalized our MOU with Anne Arundel Community College, and we will once again provide students with opportunities for dual enrollment so that they can experience college-level coursework and receive college credit. In addition to an updated course list for the upcoming school year, academics worked with the Office of Technology to create a digital application that's going to be launched for fall enrollment. Our AVID program continues to grow and to support schools, our students' preparedness for college. AVID focuses on skills that prepare you for college success. They include writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. For context, you have some numbers on your screen. The number of high school students participating increased over last year. Last year, we had at the high school level 3,076 students participating. So about an increase of over 400 students. At the middle school level, last year, we had 3,276 students participating. So that has increased approximately by 200 students. In the 22-23 school year, we had 3 Excel sites. That increased to 5 sites last year, and this year we will open with 7 Excel AVID sites. In addition to the enrollment numbers that you see, I do want to share that 10 of our educators this summer participated in a summer institute to support the AVID Excel sites, and 193 of our avid educators from 33 of our schools attended the Summer Institute in Baltimore. So to get ready for this school year, we have also really invested in our staff through capacity building across a host of areas. We know that it is important to invest in all of our staff, and this summer there were multiple opportunities to do that. You heard about some of these opportunities during President Silkworth's remarks. We offered 218 unique professional learning opportunities that were available across every one of our employee units. You heard about our RISE conference, which occurred on July 30th and 31st. We offered 60 concurrent sessions with 4 keynote speakers. For this conference, we increased our number of attendees from 431 last summer to 602 this summer. Finally, our Language Exploration, Acquisition, and Proficiency course, otherwise known as LEAP, also benefited many of our staff this year. This course provides a unique language opportunity. It's self-paced, it's asynchronous, and it's designed for long-term language learning. We also specifically took time to invest in the growth and development of our school staff. In a few moments, you're going to hear Ms. Cutchess talk about our hiring numbers this summer. They are impressive. But with that, we know the importance of our new teachers getting support early and often over their first year of teaching. And so we did have an opportunity to welcome and support our new educators from August 12th through August 15th this summer. New teachers had the chance to engage in sessions with central office, and they also had an opportunity to work in their schools and with their school leaders. We are continuing to support our conditional teachers through professional learning. We provided an immersive, day-long accelerated experience designed to introduce our conditional teachers to evidence-based high-yield practices. This year, we had 100 conditional teachers participate over 4 days. We had our first ever Science of Learning Institute this summer. It featured 2 keynote speakers and had 9 featured speakers. This conference really featured interactive sessions that focused on evidence-based practices, all tied to cognitive science, instructional design, the science of reading, and neuroscience. 255 elementary participants came to our first ever Science of Learning Institute. And then finally, as you heard, we had our inaugural Special Education Symposium on August 1st. Approximately 200 attendees were present for this opportunity. In order to ensure that we were opening our buildings staffed with leaders, under the leadership of our Division of Instruction and School Performance, we hired 33 new principals and 33 new assistant principals and 13 principals. Additionally, our school leaders have spent time this summer working through the development of their school improvement plan. As I mentioned earlier, the school improvement plan is grounded in our Anne Arundel instructional model. The plan and the process for planning was revised this summer, and it was revised intentionally to provide alignment across multiple plans. So the new process and the new plan that we rolled out aligns the blueprint, our strategic plan in AACPS, and the ESSA accountability model. All schools submitted their plans by August 8th, and they will all receive feedback through the Division of Instruction and School Performance by the first day of school. So as we get ready to open our doors for our students, the Division of Instruction and School Performance is preparing to be able to be responsive to our schools in that first week. During our visits, during the first week of school, as a team, we will assess and monitor the needs of schools in real time as they relate to facilitating the opening of schools and operations. And that way we will be able to respond accordingly as we monitor and assess that. Finally, in preparation for the opening of schools, we have been working through our Chromebook reconciliation project with the goal of providing all students with access to a device at school. We are in the final stages of reconciling our inventory. And when I say inventory, that refers to our return devices, devices in school, unreturned devices, and damaged devices. Over the past several weeks and in the coming weeks, the priority and the focus is on deploying devices and carts to our schools to ensure that all of our students have a device to use in school during the school day. Toward the end of September, we will be ready to launch our loaner program so that we can provide technological access to students in need of devices at home. So as you can see, we've been busy in academics, but it's honestly been the most rewarding type of busyness as our work is really done in service to success for students and increased outcomes for students. I do want to thank the teams across the Office of Academics for all their work in preparing for a successful opening. So with our reorganization, this now is inclusive of the divisions of instruction and school performance, specially designed instruction and early intervention services, curriculum instruction and assessment, college and career readiness, and professional learning and organizational advancement. Thank you, and I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Ms. Cutchess.
Thank you. Like all summers in human resources, we were extremely busy and excited to welcome and hire new educators in preparation for the upcoming school year. With the continued focus to show employees that they are valued through compensation increases and other means, we saw an increase in the number of applicants and the quality of candidates overall. In alignment with strategic plan goal 3, investing in our staff, even before settlement with the teachers union, which would make salaries even higher, we were able to offer new teachers starting salaries over $58,000 and over $60,000 for special education teachers as they receive an additional $2,000 in addition to their regular compensation. Because of the intentional focus on educator salaries, working conditions, a mindset to create a school system where everyone can belong, grow, and succeed, and in spite of the continued nationwide teaching and staffing shortages, we are in a significantly better place today than we were when we opened schools last year and the year prior to that. To give you an idea of what our hiring season looked like so far this summer, I will share some numbers with you. First, we are happy to see an increase in the applicants for teachers from 1,221 last year to 1,410 this year. From this rich candidate pool, we have hired 602 new Anne Arundel County Public School teachers so far. As a point of reference, last year on the same date, we hired 663 new teachers. Our hiring data changes by the hour as we continue to recruit and hire staff members who are excited to work with children and educate our future. Our new teachers come from a variety of places. Some are recent college graduates. We've hired from other districts, other careers, out of state, out of the country, and even retirement. 170 of our hires are graduates of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and 45 were interns with us before we hired them this year. We are proud they have chosen to come home to AACPS, and we look forward to supporting them as educators. As of today, we have 69 classroom teaching vacancies. To provide context, thank you, Christina. To provide context, last year at this time, we had 171 classroom teaching vacancies, and the year prior to that, we had 283 classroom teaching vacancies. Right now, we are 99% staffed for our classrooms. We have 3 school counselor vacancies, and we do not have any school psychologist vacancies. While we continue to recruit and hire for all positions, due to the collaborative work of many different offices in AACPS, all classrooms have or will have a caring adult to ensure that every student is met with an educator to support them on their first day of school. Our substitute office is ready to provide substitute teachers when educators are unable to be present in their classrooms. Substitute teacher recruitment is ongoing, and we continue to add qualified substitute teachers to our AACPS team year-round. The number of our nationally board certified teachers continues to increase. We currently have 351 active nationally board certified teachers working in AACPS, and 104 of our schools have one or more nationally board certified teachers. Our staff is working hard to continue to fill vacancies and onboard new staff members as we speak. This summer, we continued our streamlined summer onboarding processing sessions, which was significantly enhanced as we converted to an electronic onboarding process. This process allowed teachers to provide all of their documents and records needed to hire online prior to coming into this building. This prevented us from going through the time-consuming sessions that occurred where individuals would wait for staff to collect and review their forms until they could leave this building and move on to their schools where they wanted to be. This ultimately reduced paper and seat time, resulting in an efficient and current process to welcome newly hired staff to Anne Arundel County Public Schools. I am extremely proud of the progress we have made over the last several years to fully staff our buildings, despite the real educator shortage school districts face nationally. The Division of Human Capital Management, along with all of Human Resources, is commended for their intentional work to provide for the improvements I just mentioned. With a laser focus on data and constant communication with schools, as well as highly committed and dedicated principals, we were able to make real, noticeable progress to staff our classrooms. The partnership of the entire system, especially our principals and human resources staff, put us in a position for positive results for school staffing. Beyond the numbers, those of us who attended new teacher orientation know that the energy and the excitement of our new educators was contagious. They are excited to start the new school year, meet their students, and add value to their educational experience. Building off that momentum, we are looking forward to a great school year with all of our educators, who we hope to retain for years to come as they belong, grow, and succeed with Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Today, I'm providing you a brief report on the state of our operational readiness in the areas of facilities, food nutrition services, and transportation. Our readiness, or operational readiness for schools, is aligned with our new strategic plan, Belong, Grow, Succeed, and our continuation of Dr. Bedell's post-entry goals. Priority 5, building and sustaining our future in the strategic plan, clearly lays out that we must ensure safe, secure, and maintain not only all of our facilities, but our vehicles. And this aligns very well to the 2 operational goals by Dr. Bedell. Goal 1, to increase organizational effectiveness and efficiency by providing first-class support and service to all of our schools, students, and our community. And the second goal, to create a culture of trust through action with our entire team here at AACPS. In the area of facilities, our facilities division has been very, very busy, and it's been a very productive summer. Design, construction, and maintenance work has been happening at 81 out of 130 school facilities, ranging from major construction projects to reconstruction projects, down to more necessary tasks such as painting and repairs, all while delivering all the summer programs you heard about earlier. Many of these have wrapped up, and the larger project, as planned, will continue through the balance of the school year. I am happy to report that we've added 7 security vestibules to our schools. And for security reasons, I won't mention those schools, but we're excited to have those as a part of our facilities. We're also really, really excited and proud that we'll be opening 1 replacement middle school. Old Mill Middle South will be a new building replacing the former facility, which was built in 1975. That ribbon cutting, as mentioned earlier by President Silkworth, will be tomorrow, and we're excited for that. Our 2 new schools that have been built are 2 Rivers Elementary School and Severn Run High School. These schools are beautiful, and we're also looking forward to 2 Rivers Elementary School, the ribbon cutting on Monday, and this weekend on Saturday, we will have Severn Run High School's ribbon cutting. and I can't wait for each of you to see those schools. All our schools are fully stocked, cleaned, and ready for the first day of school. Now, we take all the way up until the Sunday before school, but we'll be ready. Our team has cleaned a total of 14.3 million square feet this summer. This important work by facilities, operations, and maintenance work should be applauded. At this time, last year, our operations staffing vacancies was 25. And this year, we have a total of 28.75 vacancies. Now, not to alarm you, that 3.75 increase is actually very stable. We've actually made improvements because just the past 2 months, we added 17 new FTE positions to get ready for school. So we're really happy about our custodial staffing at this point. Moving on to food nutrition services, we are very well prepared and have great leadership in this area for the upcoming school year. Again, food supplies are in stock and deliveries have been made to all of our schools. Importantly, our online meal benefit applications is up and running, and we're accepting those new applications. Also important is that all of our schools at their back to schools nights will be helping families through that process because we want to ensure equity is there for our families and they have access to those applications. Our opening and mandatory training has occurred, and I was happy to join them 2 days ago with all our cafeteria managers, and they are excited. They're all wearing their blue shirts for ACPS, and they are ready. At this time last year, you'll see that our food nutrition services had 94 vacancies, and we've reduced that to 81. We've made tremendous progress, but again, these vacancies put our cafeterias and our schools under some pressure, and we're aware of that. We'll continue to work with our great colleagues in HR and our food nutrition services leaders to make sure that we work towards providing that first-class support that our students so well deserve. In the important area of transportation, transportation is the backbone of our educational operations, ensuring that students have a safe, reliable, and efficient access to our schools. All the goals in our strategic plans hinge on getting students to school. As of the current academic year, we transport approximately 67,500 students across 682 total routes, and that gives you a daily miles of 47,500. And if that's not enough, there's 10 million miles annually that our buses and vehicles will drive. That's a lot of driving. I'm pleased to report that we make continued strides in the area of readiness to provide great service for the upcoming school year. We all remember the challenges from 2 years ago, such as driver shortages and the lack of reliability for our routes. It was our responsibility to address those, and we've worked really, really hard over the past 2 years to do that. We've implemented a comprehensive route optimization to provide greater efficiency with GIS mapping for our buses. This aims to create not only more efficient routes, but reduce travel time and fuel consumption, which is very important. We've also continued with alternate vehicle program, which has allowed us to, again, utilize our buses for the mass majority of our students while concentrating on alt vehicles for those in need. Next, we'll continue to improve our communication with our families. That is essential. We know that in a congested county that we have a responsibility to continue to communicate across the clusters and to do that and listen to them and try to make changes where they are needed. And lastly, I'm excited that planning has started for our new transportation center, which is a few years away it'll be equipped with an EV infrastructure. And I just wanted to mention that as something positive. Since last school year, again, we've implemented several strategies and they've had a positive impact. We have an adequate workforce. We know that we can increase the robust educational opportunities for our students. And it was a big help that this board, our superintendent, and elected officials made an investment in our drivers. That has not gone unnoticed. In fact, just yesterday, Dr. Bedell was with our AACPS drivers and the bus aides, and I can't tell you how appreciative they were to hear directly from Dr. Bedell. It's not always about the money. Yes, that matters, and Dr. Bedell mentioned this, but it's also about how much we care about people and how much we believe in what they do. And I can tell this board that was communicated really great by Dr. Bedell yesterday. 2 years ago, we began the year with 68 bus driver vacancies. Last year and this year, we have 0 vacancies with 52 drivers in training and ready to be a bench. Our alternate vehicles, also 0 vacancies with 6 people in training and ready to go. Now, this does not mean that every route will automatically be covered every single day. We have a couple of contractors that are very small companies that do not have a bench at this time. And so we continue to work with those contractors to make sure that we can support them and build a bench as necessary. This continues to be a national challenge, this shortage, but we're up to the task. As I mentioned, the bus driver bench and how important that is, it's really important that we're working with our contractors. We have a great relationship with our bus contractors, and I want to take a moment to thank them and the drivers for the important work that they do. Again, we're committed to transparency and continued improvement. Thank you to the entire transportation team for their leadership and preparations to get this school year started on a great foot. So that concludes my remarks. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to President Silkworth, and we invite any questions for all 3 of us that you may have. Thank you.
So thank you so much. We do have some lights, and Michelle Hunt first.
Wow, thank you for this wonderful presentation. It's always very thorough. I just love it. I've already asked for a copy of your written remarks because I can't keep on top of all of the data points. I know I'm going to be asked by constituents later, but I just have a few questions beyond that. So the CKLA training during early dismissal days, those were historically, and including last year, used for equity training. So I wonder where the equity training is going to occur.
So it's going to be infused into the CKLA training so that through the implementation, we are ensuring that we are using an equity lens in teaching and learning.
Okay. So does that put us behind in our equity work then? No. Fantastic.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you.
An AIM framework
and so
and Arundel instructional model.
Yeah. So for those of you listening at home, the answer was yes, they align. That's the short answer. I'm not going to be able to get them. All right, great. I have questions about the accelerated classes report, just specifically regarding what's going on, the piloted programs in the middle schools. Can you just repeat that bit? I thought it was.
I sure can. You're
before
ready?
page 30. Yeah.
Okay. So 2 field tests in our middle schools next year. One of them will be an advanced, I'll say English Language Arts, ELA, 8 course. The schools are Arundel Middle, Brooklyn Park Middle, and Crofton Middle. The second course we're going to field test at the middle school level is an enhanced Algebra 1 course. And this will be field tested at Annapolis Middle School, Chesapeake Bay Middle School, and Southern Middle School.
And that's beyond what the accelerated ELA and math offering is now. That's
correct.
But not quite like, okay, all right, but not quite like your kid took algebra in 7th grade and is now geometry. This is like someone who's like on the borderline of thinking that the standard Algebra 1 course is too not challenging enough, which I can't imagine because I didn't do well in that course at all. Just saying. Math was not a strong suit. All right, great. So thank you for that. And then my very last question is about actually, sorry, I have two more. Can I do two more? They're quick. Do you prefer not?
Go ahead with the one you have, and then maybe if we need a second round, we'll do it.
All right. So I've been asked by a couple of constituents what the percentage of new teacher hires is that don't have a full certification, that are hired with a conditional certification. So
Sure.
do you have that data?
I don't have that exact number because we wanted to give you the most up-to-date numbers, and so we still audit their files to make sure what we're moving into a licensure system. We're in a conversion, so you'll hear us talk about certificate and licensure. But what I can tell you is that we did a great job in developing the conditional teachers that we hired last year, and so we actually hired back 741 of the 866 conditional teachers we hired last year. So we were able to retain them, and we felt confident in their development over the first year that they would continue to be value add to our school system.
And then as they work on getting all
Then
of
they
that
can be on
squared up.
Absolutely. Then they'll be on a professional licensure.
Got it. I will have a question about the bus bench on round 2. Thank you so much.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. Thank you all for a fabulous report. I have a couple of questions, maybe more for Dr. Bedell, a little off exactly what you presented. So first of all, Dr. Bedell, obviously you have been talking about, and there's been much discussion of the cell phone guidelines that you are putting out. And I've had a number of questions from constituents about what happens if the guideline structure you've set out doesn't get the job done?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it to a number of media. I've done several media interviews with several news stations. I was on WBAL Today radio. And what I have said is if we'll take a look at this over the first grading cycle. If we feel that these guidelines are not helping to spearhead change, then yes, I will come back and begin to have a conversation about a total ban. I mean, that is where I am. I've been adamant. I just did a recording with Ms. Jackson that will go out to all of our schools. But that is my position at this point. Many superintendents across the country are dealing with these issues, and I think many of them are trying to figure out what's the best route. I think a number of districts have already moved with the total ban. I really believe in giving the kids the benefit of the doubt that we can step up and do it, because we saw it when we put the letter out regarding athletic events. We've not had issues at our athletic events, and I think we owe it to them to really let us to show that they can do this. So that is where I am with this at this juncture.
Thank you. And I would just suggest, based on what I saw with the athletic events, that I think one of the reasons that was so successful was it, as far as I understand, was handled exactly the same way at every school.
That's correct.
And
thank you, because that is important. I've even was told by Mr. Mosier that after the interview took place this morning with the radio show, that I know we have teachers who are already saying, we want to make sure that we're going to be covered. We've expressed this in the HELP conference to all of our administrators, that we have to be consistent across the board. What's different is that there will be no options of one classroom saying you can have your cell phone out, others don't. We don't want to see cell phones during instructional time and as you are walking through these hallways. And if we have these conversations with you and you don't give up the cell phone, or you're being defiant at some point, then we have a progressive discipline model structure within our student code of conduct that we will move forward. But we don't need these distractors with our teachers. You want to retain and keep people here, they have to know that we're going to follow through on what we said we were going to do. And that means administratively across all of our schools, we have to be consistent. And that was part of my message to the team there. But it is important for this community to understand the first 6 weeks aren't going to be easy. with anytime you're doing these kind of changes, you have to give room to try to figure out whether what we're doing is going to work or not. And I'm just asking for some grace as we work to try to make these changes.
And I have one other question. And again, this is a little bit off what was actually just presented, but I want to congratulate you on the data that was put out about AP scores a day or two ago. And I'm sure as MSDE provides us assessment data, we will be getting the appropriate updates. Hopefully that will come in a timely fashion from MSDE and we can turn it around. But I'd like to ask you if there's anything you can speak to with regard to particularly Annapolis High School in my district, because as you know, there are a number of families who are still concerned about the fact that there was a change in the Panther Hour structure last year. But it is my understanding, it was at the time, and it continues to be my understanding, that the goal of that was to increase instructional time and see an increase in student outcomes. So I just wondered if you could update on that at all and speak to that at all.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question. As I said last year when we made the decision to limit the amount of time that we were giving to schools for the period, really whatever power period or however you want to name it, part of it was that we felt that we were losing on instructional time. And as a superintendent, sometimes I have to make decisions that are not popular to students, but they're decisions that will ultimately protect them for themselves. And when we had this Panther period, number one, many of you who were meeting in my office during my first year, we look out the window and we're like, I'm certain all of these kids shouldn't be out here leaving and going across the street. And what we saw was, because they had that hour, not everybody was utilizing the time responsibly. I have parents who are upset because, yeah, maybe you are that parent where your child was taking advantage of it, but we have to think about the greater good of the whole system. And so what I'm pleased to share with you, just with Annapolis High School alone, chronic absenteeism is down from 40.9% to 32.86%. That is massive in 1 year. Secondly, the average daily attendance in that school district was at 88.3 in my first year. That it's up to 90.5%. Generally, with attendance rates, you only move up 0.1%, 0.2%. When you have this kind of jumps, that tells you that we had some significant problems with just everything from culture and climate. AP, you saw some of the AP examination scores at Annapolis High School. 3s and better went up by 3.15%. That is significant. I can't go into MISA or government or ELA because it's archived. But what I will tell you is next week when it is released, again, you will see data that will say this was a very brilliant decision. 9th grade on track. That means you're being promoted from 9th grade to 10th grade with the proper amount of credits, went up 11%. From 60% to 71%. That is huge. And then when you start to break it down by individual student groups, the numbers are staggering. So what that tells me is that by us making this decision, I think you will begin to see when data comes out, high school outcomes have already improved in this county after 1 year in a significant manner. And when we go back into executive close, I plan to give you all a data sheet that will give you what this preliminary data looks like on these state assessments. And yeah, I think the moves that we have made right now, I'm not willing to backpedal on them. And I've even said that even in our meeting that we had earlier with elected officials from Mountain Road, because we know we have traffic issues out there. But I said, listen, I have data here telling me that this stuff that we're doing right now is paying dividends for the students in this county. And we talk about being data driven. Here's the receipts right here.
Thank you.
Ms. Frank.
Yes, I was at that meeting earlier today too, and the Panther Hour and some of the cell phone usage and electronic usage, a lot of that originated and began during COVID. A lot of that was an answer because of a virtual schedule and how do I catch up on things because now I don't understand technology. And so these Panther Hours and some of these other things that we did were implemented during that time because we were in a new learning environment. And then we did try to carry that over into the physical world, and it in some cases worked out, in some cases didn't. We did see a lot of behavioral issues because of it. My point in bringing that up is the same kind of comment that I made earlier. As far as your data, Dr. Bedell, what I want to see as far as data is these are your first 2 years and you are increasing in your own metrics, but we lost a lot of our performance metrics during COVID. So what I continually want to see is, are we back to what we were pre-COVID? Are we better than what we were pre-COVID? And let's look at those metrics as well. I mean, I think it's good to have your own metrics so you can say, okay, this year I'm doing better than last year and last year. But as a system, have we recovered from that? And are our attendance rates and our graduation rates increasing from that point? So I would like to see that set of data. I also had a question, Ms. Kutches, about the conditional teaching certificates. And I, going back to pre-COVID, I feel like, and you might have this, when I was watching board meetings, we were talking about amendments with 350 teachers that we were trying to get. And I believe your comments, 6 years ago were something like, we wouldn't be able to do that. So can you speak to the difference between how we are today and how we were around circa 2018? It seems like we're doing better than then, just by my rough memory.
Absolutely. To clarify, I do not have off the top of my head the numbers on conditionally certified teachers, but what I can tell you, and we probably need to go back 2 more years, but as far as classroom vacancies, we are in a better place than we were before COVID.
Good.
We opened schools in 2019 with 135 vacancies, and we're going to open with less than 69 because I'm confident we're still hiring as we speak. You might have seen people lined up to get badges today. I don't know that they're even counted in that number. So, but we could certainly, I know there's a plan to give more data around, pre-COVID, post-COVID, where are we? And so we would be able to provide that at that time.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I did actually see people getting fingerprinted in line. So
we are moving, we are hiring.
Working up to the minute.
Yes.
So the other point I wanted to make about the conditional teaching certificates is that I'm talking to some folks in some other counties about some of the sort of reopening responses that were, or the reopening of schools in this year versus other years. And I know in at least one county, they went from 1% to 5% conditional teaching certificates. So in addition to the number, I would also like the percent and the increased percent too, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And then Dr. Bedell, when Dr. Tobin mentioned the cell phone ban or the cell phone guidelines that were now in place, did you say that you were going to look at it within 6 weeks and then reevaluate in 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
the ultimate goal, to look at it and get through the first quarter and then be prepared to see how it's going and to give an update.
So if there were to be a ban, would that be at that time, or is it sort of like always a continuous sort of, we're just going to constantly evaluate?
Yeah, I mean, I think to look at doing a ban immediately, I know there will be some requirements, because you're talking about potentially yonder pouches. You're talking about some things that we may have to have a further conversation that may result in some financial decisions that will have to be made. So I think it's no different than when we came to you all about the alternative vehicle initiative. We knew that we had to make some financial decisions to make that happen. This will be no different. We will come and say, here's the implications if we were to move to a total ban and what supports we would need to do it. And if we can do it now, great. If not, and it has to become a budget conversation for the future for next year, then I think that we'll be upfront with everybody on that.
Okay, I'm just wondering so that if we can say something like, well, if we get through the first semester and there's no ban, you're safe.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that that's the intention, but I mean, the goal is to, again, I just believe that if you tell our students what the expectations are, I just feel like they will step up to it, because nobody wants to be in a situation where we're locking up phones. I just don't, I know as a student, I wouldn't want to do it. And I'm certain students will be telling other students, hey, man, we're not trying to go there. They're giving us a chance. Here's the video telling us clearly that they're treating us as responsible youngsters. And I just think, I believe our kids will step up. I really do.
All right, I appreciate that. And then I have no more questions. Thank you very much for that. And I hope that the cell phone and the grading policies, all of these, I like to see the increase, and I hope it keeps moving. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you, everyone, for your great presentation. I have a couple comments and then some questions. First of all, Ms. Kutches, well done to you and your team. I know this has been a big effort, starting with the board and the superintendent, as far as working out funding and all of that to make working for us more attractive. But when you have so many positions to fill, I know from an HR perspective, it's just really hard to get it done. And you guys have done a tremendous job. Clearly, yeah, it seems we wouldn't even have 69 vacancies if you weren't still being selective, right? So you've had more, and so that's an important point to make. So to be down to 69 is, I think, tremendous.
Thank you.
Quick comment on the cell phones. So back to research and student well-being. It is well documented and well researched that there's an addiction to electronic devices. It creates the same chemical changes in the brain as other addictions. And so to your point, Dr. Bedell, those first few weeks are probably going to look different than the period after that. So it's important that everyone has a little grace and understands that there's going to be some pain involved.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. Okay. So to my questions, back to I wanted to ask a question about the launch of Specialized Instruction and Early Intervention Division. Yes. And this coincides with the new Science of Learning Reading curriculum. So could you perhaps talk to any anticipation on the impact this is going to have on special education? And because I know year over year, there's been a steady increase in the need for special education. And is the goal here, I assume, to reduce the need?
So couple parts to that question. So if I don't answer all of them, please just let me know. So yes, our new curriculum, CKLA, is designed to teach students how to read through a very systematic program designed through I'm not going to get into like the weeds, but designed through the science of reading and then components of that. I can't speak to whether or not that could have an impact on students with disabilities. What I do know from systems who have implemented the science of reading is that there is evidence that more students are reading on grade level by the end of grade 3 than when you're not implementing a curriculum that is grounded in the science of reading.
Right. And I'm sure that around 4th grade is when a lot of kids become identified as needing support. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the Chromebooks. So now we've done this collection and we have this supply for those who need it. But and this is probably more for you, Dr. Bedell, about what is the plan to meet the need? These devices are about 4 years old. So we are still going to need over time to purchase devices, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately this will have to be a part of our annual request
Right.
to the county. When
Okay.
you're absolutely right. We have to maintain because technology isn't going anywhere, and we want our kids to have that hybrid experience of being able to utilize technology, in addition to honestly being able to bring back some of the traditional ways of teaching and learning. And I think that's where we are as a school district. There's a beautiful part with both of these to be merged, but we don't also want kids spending an inordinate amount of time with screen time.
Right.
I
Agreed.
mean, that's just the reality of this. So, I think, but we know we have to keep our inventory maintained, and that will constantly be a request to the county.
Right. I mean, the idea here is the students have access to resources that they can do their homework at home
That's
using
correct.
device, and so it needs to be equitable in that
And
way.
it's important too that we just make mention of this. We're not going to put our kids in a harmful situation. If they don't have the devices, we can't then say, hey, go home and you're going to do your homework when you don't have access to a device. I mean, these are things that we just have to make adjustments on as we are working through this reconciliation process.
And then finally, transportation, comprehensive route optimization. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what are we doing to track and assess the utilization of buses? Because we need efficiencies in order that we do still have issues with students with long ride times that we hope to make more reasonable.
Yep.
So can you speak to that?
Thank you absolutely. Thank you for the question. First off, one of the most essential things in transportation, certainly that I've learned over the last few years, is how important your routing team is. Those are the experts with GIS mapping capabilities. They conduct the routes, and then in conjunction with those transportation specialists who really know the uniqueness of each area, right? And the ins and outs and how to best route and what are the nuances of each neighborhood. And so I feel really good about our transportation's ability to listen, take in information, and assess situations that you as board members and others may hear about, whether that be a bus stop or the length of a route. Those are really important in terms of our customer service. In terms of, the fancy word route optimization, how can our routes be most efficient while balancing the needs of the community? And so Prismatic, which I know the board is well aware of, and for those that are listening, Prismatic was a consulting company that we worked with over 2 years ago to try to assist in, that was one of the areas, and try to make our routes more efficient. And so that could mean that historically a route may have gone into an entire neighborhood and picked up students along the way in a neighborhood. But what that created was very inefficient routes. And so consolidating of stops has occurred. I know our team looks very carefully at where those bus stops are, particularly as they pull up outside of a neighborhood that might be on a busy street, and we look at those on a case-by-case basis. And we also, I think it's important to note the data that either has been shared or will be shared as it relates to the other thing to take into context is, what's the chronic absenteeism rate as well as the absenteeism rate. And so we look at certain communities and what that rate truly is. It doesn't mean that there aren't pain points along the ride. There are certain things that we look at in terms of how early do we want an elementary school student on a bus stop specific, right? And so we look at all those things and try to take them in balance and try to serve our community as best we can.
That last point you made is really quite specifically why I was asking the question. So we've tried a couple things over the years. One was the opt-in that I think was not implemented very well because it was too stringent. It didn't give any flexibility to parents. I had also, I think, had a conversation with, I think it's Fairfax has some sort of system where parents basically use an app to let the system know when they're going to be using the bus. We tried the, whatever, no, what did we do in Crofton with the
bus?
Easy.
Yeah.
Bus badge, we called it bus
The
badge,
whole
right.
point here is how closely are we looking at actual utilization? Because if we have a system where we simply, we create our routes based on a seat for every student eligible, we're going to end up with a lot of underutilization because students are being driven to school. And so that's where I'm looking for
It's a great point. And just to follow up on that is that the second, third week of the school year, we do physical counts.
Okay.
And so those are essential and far better, quite frankly, than any badging system we would have, because there's an imperfectness to that and all sorts of challenges if we're not going to mandate that, right? Which we made the decision that would not be a good decision to do. So we do those bus counts and then make sure that if we can consolidate, or if we have, in many instances, there are situations, not many, but in some instances, there are overcrowded buses in certain neighborhoods. And we always want to meet the needs of those. And then we try to, that's why those drivers, that bench is really important. If you look at that, it mentioned 52 in training. There are 15 drivers right now that will be teed up and ready to drive by Friday. Those are bench. So that's a good number to know that we've got people that we can pull. If we need to add a bus, that we work with our contractors to try and do that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Dent.
Good afternoon. Great job getting ready for this opening of school. I'm really, really excited about everything that you all talked about. I'm really excited about the staff and staffing. I don't think I'd ever thought I would see a 99% readiness of staffing in any location. So kudos to anyone who was out recruiting and everyone that was taking part in that. And congratulations, Ms. Cutchinson, for those efforts. But my question is about transportation. I know you knew it was coming, Dr. Heiser. So again, you mentioned, and it's great, but I still would like a little bit of elaboration on the readiness of our fleet, our bus fleet itself. Because a lot of times, and I ride up and down the road, buses are on the side of the road over and over again. Buses are late because they break down. Some of the routes don't get picked up because the buses are late. So how do we optimize the bus fleet? And what are we doing to make sure that the age of the fleet, even for the contractors, are, I don't want to say have them purchase new buses, but I do know that a lot of the issues are not necessarily with the bus routes. They're with the age of the fleet that we have for our buses.
It's a great question. And the second slide that I presented was about safety. Remember, we talking about safety, security, and the safety is really paramount to what we want to do in transportation. We're turning over buses, buying new buses every 12 years. Our contractors are doing the same. So it's really important they go through rigorous testing requirements, those buses. And so we do that not only at the start of a year, but throughout the year. So we feel good about that. There are times when you may be driving, and certainly this happened to me, and I see a bus that does not have students that's on the side of the road. And you'll likely, what typically is the case in almost all circumstances is that driver is waiting for the next run. Now, whether they should be in that location where they are is a different question, and an important question, and one for us to address. And we do remind drivers of where the appropriate place is to stop their vehicle. But in most circumstances, that's the case, that there is a time period in which they're waiting to pick up the next run for the next group of students. And I've seen that across the area. So that certainly is the case. In situations where there are buses that break down or there are minor accidents, I think those are important to recognize. And we want to make sure I get regular reports on not only vehicle readiness, but also on accidents. And I think that's important, that's a metric that we're keenly focused on. So it's, while we have people in training, as much as we want them to get through the pipeline very quickly, There are classroom sessions, there are behind the wheel hours that they need to do, and we want to make sure that they meet all those things so that they can be as safe as possible and that they're good drivers. And we know there are more cars on the road now than ever before, which makes it more and more challenging for our drivers and ever more important for them to make sure that they're driving safely.
And then, so thank you. The second question that I have is talked about, and again, I know that this is some part policy. There are elementary school students that are walking a lot further than we would think that a child of that age need to walk. And so is there a way for us to look at, and I know you said there was an exception to policy and there's some case by cases, things that we do, but I would like for us to continue to look at the elementary walk distance. I get how it's calculated. I understand that someone was talking about geometry and algebra a few minutes ago. Yeah, okay. So I'm right behind you with fell in those areas. But I do not, it don't fall on deaf ears when I hear parents saying that their child is having to walk, a mile or half a mile or that, or across an area over a half a mile that doesn't have a sidewalk. And so it does concern me. So that comes into the safety aspects of that. So with the safety aspect of that, do you have a count of the routes that we have that fall in the category of being safe or unsafe? And how are we addressing those routes?
The walking routes or bus routes?
Walk routes. I'm not good. So the bus routes, the bus picks the person up. So
Fair
that's
enough.
there. But most of my emails are about children that can't, students that have to walk across areas that are unsafe in order to get from their home to their school.
Absolutely. And to your point at the beginning, the policy is very clear. They give very clear parameters around not only the distance, but the areas by which you can or should be walking. And so from a transportation division standpoint, that is the policy, right? And we go strictly by that. I have not seen, I don't know if it could be created after we get buses up and running in terms of a map that would show, and we have a lot of maps, so I don't want to overpromise, but we can certainly take a look into it in terms of what areas in terms of walkability perhaps are deemed more dangerous than others. I mean, I'd have to look into that. There is no question that as we've consolidated routes and we've had the bus driver shortage and now greater efficiency, there are more students walking. So I think I should fully acknowledge that piece so that you could have an elementary school student that's walking 0.9 miles, right? And so whether that's policy. And so certainly if the board wants to discuss that, we'll discuss that. But that's kind of where we are. So when you hear things, I can assure you though that when we get complaints about neighborhoods or areas to walk, myself, the transportation team led by the director, take those very seriously. They're not rubber stamped. They are looked into each and every time to make sure that it's safe.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Mr. Silkworth and I have had a couple of walks, a couple of rides through routes that was told to us that was unsafe, and you guys were very responsive. So I have no doubt about that. I was just wondering before I really talked to the policy committee about revamping our policy, is there something that's necessary that we need to do? And so before I went down that road, I just wanted to do some due diligence on that.
Appreciate that. Sorry, one caveat, I mean, and this is something to consider, right, is that when you reduce that walk zone, many school systems are increasing their walk zone that has become problematic, obviously, in other school districts. But as you decrease it, right, keep in mind it requires obviously more money and more buses, of which we do not have. So that's something as we weigh in the balance when we look at these things.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Corkadell.
Thank you, President Silkworth, and congratulations on one of the most successful school starts of, well, at least during my term. And that is pre-COVID too, I will just point out, ladies and sir. I did want to echo chamber a little bit of what Ms. Dent said, although I had hit my button before she had started to speak. We continue to have a significant maintenance backlog in the county as it relates to the shoulders on our roads. The roads overall maintenance, its width in some areas is very antiquated to modern standards. We have sort of rigged bike lanes where bike lanes really aren't there, which further limits what the school district can do regarding their walkers. I do know for a fact, having walked the walk and the simul walks with people when I worked with the county, with the students, that we do a very good job. But where we are falling short is with the county and its maintenance and its continued stagnant number with the crossing guard. I don't want to diss on our partners because we have a very good partnership. I do think, though, we are at a moment in time where we need to consider how we are prioritizing these projects and to consider our students at a greater priority when we're looking at our budgets. A lot of this stuff sits in the county's prime capital budget, does not sit in our budget purposefully. And so when we do receive these concerns, and I know Dr. Bedell is very active with it in addition to the staff, and has actually visited some places when we have had concerns, heard from folks, and even our prior superintendent too, in some of our areas. But I do think we need to perhaps be a little bit more aggressive because we don't have as many parents that are able to walk to the bus stop, walk to the school with the kids. And as we continue to stagnate, our numbers have grown. So actually the number of kids that are alienated as a result of those no hires with the crossing guards is growing. The delta is getting bigger because we have more students enrolled. And so likewise, that continues to grow while that number stagnates. I would just compel our community to step up and step in. Waiting for the government to solve your problems usually rarely results in an actual solution timely to where you need it, because we have a lot of things involved with it. So I would hope that as we move forward with our start, parents, you need to be involved, partner up with some neighbors, to make sure that whether you're walking your kid to the bus stop, which can be equally as challenging, and where they're stacked in, all the way to our actual walkers until we get a better resolution. Because our solutions to these are really strong Band-Aids in some places. And I can think off the top of my head where, although it may be deemed on paper traffic engineering safe, in the reality, you'd be rare to find a parent who is truly comfortable in the environment. And whether it's rural and we're dealing with swales, or we are in urban areas where people blow off the lights, I think we're in the same boat. All that being said, we have one of the best teams I've seen in decades here that is willing to go out in the field and solve those problems. And I haven't seen that in a long time since Mr. Bill was here, and a couple others that I worked with many years ago. And so I'll just say I am excited that how much progress we made, and I look forward to working together at least these last few months and watching the progress thereafter from the stand. So great job to everyone else. All the other stuff is just exciting things, and I can feel the excitement in my end and my community. Everybody is looking forward to a great school year. So thank you guys very, very much.
Ms. Schauheim.
Yes. So just a couple follow-up questions. I realized I had another question for you, Ms. Catalano. The 65 courses that were rewritten, revised, or updated, is it because is it because of all the new courses that we've approved, or is it because MSDE has changed their standards? Like what is the rationale?
So it can be a couple of things,
Okay.
all of the above almost.
Okay.
So sometimes we will rewrite a course because standards have changed. Sometimes we will rewrite a course because it's time to rewrite the course. It hasn't been touched in a number of years, and we've just learned more about better content aligned pedagogical strategy. And so it's time to revise that course. There are times, and we have a policy and regulation that guides this, where we do sunset courses. And sometimes we add courses. We add them for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's to ensure that we have courses aligned to standards. Other times it's because our students have interest in a particular content area, and we feel it would be important to write a course aligned to that and aligned to any national standards or course expectations for that. So it can be a variety of things.
All right, great.
Does that help?
Yeah, it totally helps. Yeah, thank you for that. I can foresee questions from constituents, so I just wanted to get on top of that. Thank you. Let's go back to the bus bench. Sorry, not sorry. So we want to run all routes. We want to run routes when the driver calls out sick, or God forbid, quits, or has any number of reasons, has a flat tire on the way to work, they can't get to work on time, therefore they can't drive the elementary bus, whatever the reason is. And you said earlier that some of our contractors are so small that they don't have a bench. It's still incumbent upon us to get those kids to school. So I wonder if we can think about that bench building a little bit more creatively, maybe not silo the contractors, or put them in so small a box or so tight a box that another contractor can't pick up the slack. I don't know where that would occur, if that would occur in the contract approval phase or in the negotiations or whatever, but I don't want to, the last thing a parent wants to hear, because I wouldn't want to hear it either, is contractor X couldn't drive today. And yes, we've been telling everyone and publicly in the meetings and all of this that we have a bench, yet we don't have a bench for that particular contractor. I know as a parent, I would see red, So I just wonder if there's a better way we can think about that, just so we don't get ourselves caught up in situations like that.
Your point is well taken in terms of it's incumbent upon us to be adaptable and try to find ways creatively. We do need to look at the contract, to your point, and so we committed to that. Take a look at the contract, see what flexibility we may or may not have in that regard. So I think we could definitely do that. The other piece is obviously the relationship with the contractors is really important to make sure that they are all in as well, and that they're making sure that their drivers are supported and that our students are supporting them. And so we try to find ways to do that also. And the other piece on the other end that we certainly are not afraid to do, we don't like that we have to do this, but we do it, is liquidated damages. So when a route doesn't run, it hits them in the wallet. And that helps a lot.
I realize that, but it doesn't always have the intended effect. And so, like I said, if it's still our responsibility to get students to school. Yes, I know we need buy-in from our contractors, but ultimately we run the show. It's not the other way around, like it has been somewhat in the past prior to Dr. Biddell's arrival. So we tell them what our needs are, and they need to hut to, or we could look at other options. That's how it should ultimately be. So if if we get into the school year and we find that, and please keep us apprised of this, a contractor or contractors that are most guilty of this, for whatever the reason is, it could be a totally benign reason, or it could be a lack of them supporting their drivers that are ultimately on their payroll. Whatever it is, I hope you keep us apprised of who those contractors are and what we can do proactively, so we make sure that all runs go, or at least as consistently as possible. And I thank you in advance for that.
I will do that. Thank
you.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. A couple of additional questions. So while we're on bus drivers, I'll just add one more question. I have been at times contacted by drivers who have been concerned, who work for various folks, but I think this is sort of a general structure, as I've been told, that it is not generally the practice, and so this may or may not be something you can respond to here. We may have to, may require you to look into some things. Whereas, you go on a flight, a pilot always does a physical walk around of the bus. There's some sort of electronic monitor that buses use, but there is concern among some drivers that does not necessarily pick up what it needs to pick up, and that there is generally not time in some cases given for the walk around. So I just love at some point a follow-up on that, especially because, and I'm glad we're doing this, the longer usage years that buses get, but that also brings questions to mind about staying on top of maintenance. So I'd love at some point, maybe if you have any information on that. My other question, there was something, Ms. Catalano, in your report that was on the slide, but you didn't mention, and so I'd just like a little more information about the expansion of the dual language enrollment, or the I'm sorry? No, I'm not talking about dual college. I'm talking about bilingual immersion. There was a reference to that.
Yes.
So I'd like to.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we do have in Anne Arundel County a dual language program, which means students are instructed in 2 languages.
Which is my baby, you should know.
Yeah. Okay. It is expanding because each year at Tyler Heights, we add a grade level.
Okay.
And so we started, with kindergarten,
Right.
but as those students matriculate through elementary school, every year we add a grade level.
Yeah.
And that's
And
why
that's
it's
what that
expanding.
is. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
but yes, that's correct. But we also know that there is going to be interest from other parts of the county. And when I was out in Corkadale's area, one of the elementary principals, we were talking about the population out there growing. I think probably will be another school that we will be taking a look at here in the very near future to move dual language into another part of the county.
Well,
So I'm planting seeds right now, but I got a lot of seeds that I want to plant. And when we get all these little wins, now I can start asking for some bigger things. And I got some stuff coming.
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful to hear that. I've had the opportunity to observe a little bit at Tyler Heights, which Dr. Bedell heard a lot in his ear from me when he came about dual language, and he knows that that's a thing I love. But I'm delighted to hear, and I've heard wonderful things from the educators at Tyler Heights about their experience with this and how the children are progressing. So I look forward to also at some point being able to see the data as those children progress through our system. All the research I'm aware of says English acquisition is stronger for non-native English speakers in a bilingual setting. And you obviously then have students maintaining their native language. And in this particular case, thinking of the population of Tyler Heights, it has been reiterated many times that a number of our families who come here who are native Spanish speakers, the parents aren't necessarily literate in Spanish. And therefore, the children get their Spanish literacy as well as their English literacy through the bilingual immersion.
Correct.
And that is, in this world, to be bilingual is a phenomenal job skill. It just is. So I just put one more pitch, and I'm delighted to see this, but I think there are great advantages. So thank you.
Agree. It's an asset.
Ms. Frank.
Being bilingual is great unless your second language is Latin. And
No,
it's just kind
Greek.
Of, Greek.
I taught ancient Greek.
Yes, you're Greek. A couple of things, and I think there's been a couple of comments by other board members, and I kind of want to tie it in because I know there's a lot of new folks in the room. I know, Dr. Bidell, you've been hiring a lot of new team members. So I want to bring a couple of the conversations back to before start times during COVID, when I will never forget the day when we were discussing start times, and Dr. Arlotto mentioned that people frequently want more bus runs and more pressure on transportation. They never ask for less. And I think the point that I'm hearing from a lot of my colleagues is we understood that there was going to be a rough patch, that we were going to have to get buses, we were going to have to get vans, we were going to have to implement them, figure out. I remember when we got the vans, Mr. Mosier, you said, we don't even know legally what we have to put on them. Do they have to be yellow? And, so we had to work through all of these problems. We've gotten through a vast amount of that. So the next piece of that, now we've got our team, we're building a bench, projecting out. The idea always was, I remember Dr. Tobin, we had a discussion about the Annapolis students walking and one child who had this route that, was like multiple intersections. The idea always was condense down what we need to do and then build out for some of these other problems. So I hear Ms. Ellis talking about, how do we optimize? And I hear Ms. Dent talking about so I think everything in conjunction is, we didn't get the funding for transportation that we had fully wanted this time around, but clearly the community needs and the board interest has always been to expand upon this once we fine tune it. So just to sort of wrap a bow around a lot of the conversations I think that we've had, start times was the start point as well. And then transportation needs would have to be built off of what that occurs. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. And then because I spoke a lot to Ms. Quetches last time, Dr. Heiser, I just wanted to say thank you to you as well. I had some really oddball community questions over the summer about building noises at 6:30 in the morning, and my neighbors, I don't like them in my front yard, and that's where the bus stop is. And so I appreciate that. and I said, I have to ask the question just because I want to know if this bus stop is going to be here. But obviously, I'm not recommending that we change the safety and capabilities of our routing system to accommodate. I don't get along with my neighbors, so I appreciate you humoring me. And just to kind of let some folks know, a lot goes into this that is sort of unique and interesting and different. So I appreciate all of your help with that.
Okay, Ms. Shawhan.
I'm sorry, I did have one more question. So going back to cell phones. So I've heard, because I talked to my daughter, she's a rising 8th grader. It's a fun period of one's life for the parents, just saying. And she tells me that sometimes teachers let the students take out their phone because they're doing a Kahoot or whatever else. That all is going to stop, right? Because if we're going to be consistent, then it's not going to be used for instruction, and so therefore we were not going to open that door that that child might have their cell phone out beyond the Kahoot or not be participating in or whatever else they're doing, right?
That's correct.
Good. I like that answer. Thank you.
Okay, so I've been silent. I've been quiet. I've been a good listener. I take the time to kind of jot down some notes, and then I'll put an asterisk next to something. So I hope I'm not rambling, but I'm just going to say a few things. First of all, I just want to thank Dr. Heiser, Ms. Kutchis, Ms. Catalano, and the entire staff for doing everything that you have done to get us ready for this mission, this journey we're about to undertake. I've heard a lot of things. I've heard from Dr. Bidell that the first 6 weeks is going to be a difficult journey. And I understand that it will be. But what is our mission? What does this board want? What does Dr. Bedell want? What do we all want? We want all of our students to belong, grow, and succeed. We want their outcomes to be the absolute best they can possibly be. So once again, I'm not going to ramble, but I think about some things that I've thought about in the past. AAA. I'm talking to students. AAA means that you attend with a positive attitude, you will achieve. And that positive attitude means that you trust your teachers and admin, you care for them, and you respect them, and you listen to them. I also wrote down, send a message to parents, admin, teachers, and students. So maybe I'm going to send the same message to everybody. And I'm being repetitive, but I always get back to this relationship word. If we build relationships at any level in the appropriate manner, the negative things won't be there. You're not going to have problems with cell phones. You're not going to have problems with discipline issues. So, admin, I need you to support teachers. I was a teacher. When I had that support, it was marvelous. When I did not have that support, there were problems. Teachers, we've listened to you. We heard about grading. We heard about bright space. We heard about attendance. We heard about a lot of things. We have listened. Guidelines for the cell phone policy have been put out. I'm going to suggest to you that they're fluid. The first 6 weeks, we're going to have to take a look to see what happens. What I want to happen is I want the relationships in a positive manner to be built so that cell phones are no longer in the way and our student outcomes increase dramatically. That absolutely is something that can happen. What do I not want? I do not want teachers coming up with their own rules in their classroom that are contrary to our regulations and our guidelines. I don't want admin doing that. I also want to see that everybody's supported. We will support our staff. I want our admin to support our teachers. I want our teachers to be supportive of our students. Build relationships with them based upon caring, trust, and respect. And all of the problems that I hear about will vanish. It is so exciting to see the data which shows 69 vacancies. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. 99% staffed. So I guess the key word for me is relationship, but it's also consistency. We, as a school system, have heard from all of our stakeholders, cell phones are a problem. There are problems with grading regulations. We need to raise the bar for our students. That bar has been set a little bit too low for too long. And now it's being raised. The expectation is, students, you will achieve, you will rise to our level of expectation. And from my standpoint, I will do anything and everything I can to help them get there. One final thing I will suggest to all students, if you're out there listening, it is important for you to have mentors. Parents, it's important for you to be present. Dr. Bedell has a Be Present program. But I'm suggesting that some students don't have parents present in their life, even though they have parents with them, if that makes any sense. It is so important for us to care for our kids, to be present for them, and to do whatever we can to help them achieve. If we all do this, we may have a tough 6 weeks, but we will get more data like the AP results that we just got, which are absolutely fantastic. So once again, I thank all of the members of this board for asking all of the questions that they asked. I learned a lot. I thank you for what you do. Dr. Bedell, I thank you for helping this school system get ready for what's going to be an exciting new school year, 2024-25. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to be moving on to some consent items, award of contracts. Do I hear a motion for bundle?
You do. I move to bundle items 6.01 to 6.15.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have consensus?
No.
Okay, we do have consensus for that.
Oh, to bundle.
Dr.
Bundle.
Bedell.
Go ahead.
We have consensus. So we go to, right?
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
was making sure. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education authorize the award of contracts on their consent items numbered 6.01 through 6.15.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, sorry. I did want to say I have been asking for materials of instruction for quite some time. I would really like to have those included in the board packets. I have been traditionally just pulling these items out of the consent and bundling because I have been, hesitant to vote against things. But in the interest of time, I'm not going to continue to do that. But the reason I am voting against this is because I would like to see what I'm voting for, and I have not received a lot of that. So I just would ask again to please have that included in our board packet. It's been quite a few requests. So I would like to be able to vote for the rest of the items in the future. Thank you.
Can I just respond to that? It is my understanding that we submit information regarding materials of instruction. Did you not receive that in this particular packet?
We received some, but it's a high level. What I'm hoping to receive are the
2 sentences.
much deeper detail.
Like, so the online stuff, we did for a period of time, Dr. Bedell, receive the links to access the previews. And the last 3 or 4 times we've had materials instruction, that sort of dropped off and has not come in to us. There was some big one that they had the physical, but a lot of our materials of instruction are no longer physical. So the online previews, we don't have access to. And so the sheets just have a couple sentences.
Okay. All right.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Ellis,
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. Stent,
Aye.
Ms. Frank,
Nay.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
and Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
6-1, motion passes.
Okay, we're moving on to item 7.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Bedell.
Mr. President, the superintendent recommends that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and/or appointed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Ellis,
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Ms. Frank,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, item 7.02, personnel. Dr. Bedell.
Mr. President, the superintendent recommends that the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Ellis,
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Ms. Frank,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item 7.03, policy revision, second reading, representative student leadership, code JCA. Ms. Wilson, hello.
Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. I'm Grace Wilson, Senior Legislative and Policy Specialist. Policy JCA, Representative Student Leadership, is before you this afternoon on second reading after being posted for a 30-day public comment period. There was one comment received, and that was shared with you and posted online in advance of this meeting. As a reminder, this policy establishes structures for representative student leadership programs in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. The policy was last revised in 2014 and is being updated for style, formatting, and other minor revisions, including removing repetitive language and reorganizing information from the position section into the issue statement. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Ms. Ellis.
I just want to thank the person who did give that comment. I thought it was very useful. Frankly, I see how there could be some tweaking to the policy. I don't have anything today, but it was very thoughtful, and I appreciate the comment.
Okay, seeing no more lights, we'll move on to item 7.04, employment of foreign nationals, code GD.
Policy GD, employment of foreign nationals, is also on second reading this afternoon after being posted for a 30-day public comment period. We did receive comment on this policy as well, and that was shared with you in advance of the meeting and posted online. This policy was last revised in 2008 and is being revised for style and formatting and to remove the requirement that individuals obtain tenure or satisfactorily complete their probationary period in order to be sponsored for permanent residency. This is an effort to improve our recruitment and retention of staff. At July's meeting, Ms. Corkadal did raise concerns about the background check process for foreign nationals, so I just want to take a moment to respond to that publicly. Foreign nationals seeking to enter the United States undergo a screening as part of their visa process, in which they're required to disclose any arrests, convictions, or detentions, any that have happened anywhere in the world. U.S. law enforcement then looks into this, and this could include contacting Interpol. And this is all in advance of the background check that is performed by AACPS. So these individuals are very thoroughly screened before entering the U.S. and upon entering the AACPS system. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Ms. Corkadal.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, Ms. Wilson, for following up, because I just think that, nowadays there's so much that goes wrong in the world. I want to make sure that our parents and our community are assured that we are doing all the screening possible, and that it is in alignment and in similar course to the type of background checks that we do already with folks here, but it does involve a little bit more detail. And so the folks that had reached out to me appreciate the response, and I told them I should be watching.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate you reporting that and being willing to report to the public.
Of course.
Okay. We'll move on to item 7.05, students with known anaphylactic allergies or perceived symptoms of anaphylaxis, code JECA. Ms. Wilson.
Policy JECA is before you on second reading as well. We did not receive any public comment during the 30-day public comment period. As a reminder, in 2023, the Maryland General Assembly passed House Bill 28, which required the Maryland State Department of Education and the Maryland Department of Health to update their school guidelines regarding anaphylaxis. School systems were required to implement that guidance before the start of this school year. In reviewing the guidance, our staff made no recommendations to the policy, but there were some recommendation changes to the regulation. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, seeing no questions, we'll move on to item 7.06, Board Emergency Management, code BL.
And for the final time this afternoon, Policy BL, Board of Emergency Management, is a new proposed policy that's before you this afternoon on second reading. We did not receive any public comment during the 30-day public comment period for this policy. The purpose of this policy is to mandate that the board implement a continuity of operations or a COOP plan to ensure the continuation of essential functions during a state of local, regional, or national emergency. Additionally, the policy requires that the board establish a COOP committee led by the president, that they annually review the COOP, and that the COOP be exercised every 4 years in the year following the election of board members. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, seeing none, we thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. These will all be back on third reading on September 4th.
Yes, yes. Okay, we're moving on to item 7.07, Memorandum of Understanding, Pre-K, Chesapeake Science Point Elementary.
Mr. President, the superintendent recommends the approval of the MOU for Chesapeake Science Point Public Charter School and the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County for the delivery of 60 pre-K seats.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Tobin.
Yes, I just had a quick question with regard to the MOU. I don't know. There's Mr. Crane. So I obviously it's wonderful to see this continued expansion. I just wanted to ask one quick question. It's my understanding from looking at the MOU that obviously there is a requirement that in this case, Chesapeake Science Point, we're also going to be looking at Monarch, are required to follow the procedures and structures largely outlined by Blueprint, I would assume, as to how to determine who has the highest need and therefore gets to the top of the list, so to speak. And only after that has been satisfied can you then keep adding students who don't meet that need. I guess my question is, what is our process for monitoring that? How will that be reported out to us that they are in fact following those procedures?
Sure. Good afternoon. For the record, Matt Stansky, Chief Financial Officer. Not after, not after what Dr. Iser just.
It's been a long year, right?
Were you having flashbacks?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to managing the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's great about bringing our two partners in from Chesapeake and Monarch is they will essentially follow the same process and monitoring process as all of our pre-K. Okay. So we will, obviously use Power School for enrollments. The income verification process will be all the same as we have for all of our pre-kindergarten schools. And so the early childhood office and in partnership with Mr. Crane's team and the instructional data division will have that triangular effect to ensure that those Blueprint requirements are being met for all the folks interested in enrolling.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's great news.
You're welcome.
Ms. Corkadell.
I just want to publicly thank Chesapeake Science Point and Monarch Academy for being willing to be those first partners with us, albeit it's a charter school and we already have a relationship. It would be cooler if we also had like a list of a half a dozen private providers. But I think this is going to be a good model for us moving forward because, folks, we don't have enough seats that meet the core requirements of the community schools right now. We just don't have enough seats in the facilities. Our facilities have there are limited number of seats where you can actually well educate a student. And we've got a lot of old buildings, one of the oldest fleets in the state. And so our creativity is even going to be more so than some of the other districts. But I just think it's outstanding that they're willing to step up, that they have the resources, and hopefully become mentors of others in the community. So thank you guys very much. It's a start, and I will take it because we desperately need more. Our English language learner population is going up, and unfortunately, it is not a number one priority as it relates to the state blueprint. It is sitting down in number 3. And so we have these competing interests, and the need is just there. All these students have this need. It's a great one, and the more seats we can get, the faster we can get them in, the better we're going to see those outcomes and our student success. So thank you very much.
Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you. Just to follow up on the last piece of this, the last time I think we had a discussion about the community partners, this was the only group that was interested in expanding and collaborating with us in that respect. Have there been any new groups who we've talked to that might be interested or anything in the pipeline?
So not at this time, but really the fall season will be where we kick off that recruitment effort. We are looking to MSDE to kind of play a more active role for us. I think one of the big, we've talked a lot about the different barriers for private providers, but I think one of them also is the application timeline for the pre-K expansion grant doesn't happen until the spring. And so what we're really pushing MSDE is to move that up into the fall so that private providers can have some assurance early on that they're going to get a grant from MSDE and work through whatever the Excel's requirements are for them and all the other requirements that the blueprint outlines. But so our team will continue obviously to do outreach, and we're also hoping for some relief, I'll say, from MSDE so that we can at least remove some of these barriers of access.
Understood. Thank you.
Ms. Corkadell.
My apologies, but your answer, Matt, actually just brought up just a little point in clarification. So most of the private providers, they open up their enrollment of application like right after the first of the year,
right?
And they are filled completely by the beginning of February. So the other challenge I think we're going to have, because we don't have control over the private providers, but if the state is not willing to work on their timeline, we'll never ever get them there. And likewise with our community school offerings, I am a little concerned the way Blueprint set this up, that a pre-K 3 may not have a seat to matriculate to pre-K 4, which we have had examples of here in our district. Very heartbreaking, and still gets a little bit of my ire, but it's to the state, not to here. Also, as it relates to the money, I think that I am hopeful that the interpretation of what the state legislators had intended this to be is carried out, because right now it is not. But I will just say I am personally advocating with the AIB and the state, and others are too, to try to fix that. But it is very concerning that we have that much uncertainty, that we have kids in the system and then out of the system just as fast. And you want to talk about losing your school and your home school, that really hits home. We're talking about little kids, not high schoolers. So I really hope that they fix that and get back to us on those details, because we still don't have an answer.
Yeah, and your statement gives me an opportunity. I will say the General Assembly did look to remove a barrier, which is the per student funding allocation in fiscal 27. It's going to jump all the way up to 19,000. It's currently 13,000 a student for this year. It'll jump to 19,000. Obviously, pending funding availability, right? We'll see if that withstands the scrutiny of the budget process over the next two years. But there is a significant jump in the per pupil allocation. To your point, Ms. Corkadell, whether that is a school district obligation or a county government obligation is to be seen.
Well, the common interpretation of the language would leave that between the county and the state, but we will see what the legal experts come back with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Sansey, for your leadership in that issue. I know other districts in the state greatly appreciate it.
Okay, seeing no more lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, item 7.08, Memorandum of Understanding Pre-K Monarch Academy, Annapolis.
Thank you. The superintendent recommends approval of the MOU for Monarch Academy Annapolis and the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County for the delivery of 120 pre-K seats.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no lights, no discussion. Ms. Howe.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, item 7.09, Maryland Hall renovation third-party project.
All right. So before I do the superintendent's recommendation. I know Jackie Coleman's been here. Thank you for enduring all of this good news today. But also just, I want to say, listen, I've watched in the 2 years I've been here, some of the things that you've done over there, some of the improvements that will benefit children. So I happily want to make this recommendation to this board that we recommend approval of the Maryland Hall third-party project, Bowen Theater, coastal HVAC upgrades, and classroom wing HVAC upgrades. Does that include anything in the hallways that's really hot when you walk up those stairs? Okay, great.
So moved.
Okay.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. As a sitting member of the board of directors of the Maryland Hall for the Arts, I am going to have to recuse myself from this decision, so I'll be leaving the dais. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tobin. We do have a motion and a second. Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Miss Ellis,
Aye.
Miss Corkadell,
Aye.
Miss Schallheim,
Aye.
Miss Dent,
Aye.
Miss Frank,
Aye.
and Mr. Soakworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, item 7.1, the Goshen Farm lease extension.
All
Dr.
right.
Bedell.
Thank you. And I don't know if there's any Goshen Farm representatives here today, but they probably have some of the best honey I've ever had. So once again, I want to recommend, and they're doing good things for our students over there. The superintendent recommends approval of the third lease addendum, Goshen Farm Preservation Society, Inc., for the Goshen Farm property.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Miss Ellis,
Aye.
Miss Corkadell,
Aye.
Miss Schallheim,
Aye.
Miss Dent, Miss Frank,
Aye.
Miss Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
and Mr. Soakworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. And finally, under action item 7.11, filling of vacancies on executive committee of countywide citizen advisory committee, CAC. I think we have a motion coming.
I move that the Board of Education approves the recommendation of the CAC Selection Committee for those individuals on the attached sheet.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? I'm seeing no lights. Ms. Howe.
Miss Ellis,
Aye.
Miss Corkadell,
Aye.
Miss Schallheim,
Aye.
Miss Dent,
Aye.
Miss Frank,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Mr. Soakworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Item 8.01, award of contracts. Any concerns, any comments? None. Okay, so that moves us to our public comments on non-agenda items. I believe we have 3 individuals. We have 1 person that's in person and 2 virtual. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the opportunities that the board provides to hear the views and receive the advice of community members. The members of this board appreciate hearing from interested citizens. As appropriate, we will refer your concerns to the superintendent for follow-up by his staff. While we encourage public input on policies, programs, and practices within the purview of this board and the school system, this is not the proper forum to address specific student or employee matters or to comment on matters that do not relate to the public education in Anne Arundel County. I remind everyone that any inappropriate personnel remarks or other behavior that disrupts or interferes with the conduct of this meeting are out of order. Persons who otherwise disrupt or disturb this meeting will not be allowed to continue their remarks and will be asked to leave the meeting. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer sessions with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. I ask the speakers observe the 2-minute clock. A yellow light will shine when you have 30 seconds remaining, and a tone will sound when your time has expired. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the tone. If you continue after the time has expired, the microphone may be turned off. It could also be turned off if a speaker addresses specific student or employee matters or are commenting on matters not related to publication or public education in Anne Arundel County. And so our in-person speaker today is Chuck Thompson. Very patient, Chuck Thompson. Good afternoon.
President Silkworth and fellow members of the board. The federal government issued a new Title IX rule effective August 1st, 2024. There are three major provisions of the rule that undermine the intent of Title IX. Discrimination is extended to include sexual orientation and gender identity. Need to address students by their preferred pronouns. Allow the use of facilities corresponding to gender identity. This is a controversial change, and I was disappointed to hear from the Superintendent Bedell's team that the school system intends to fully comply with this new rule. This new rule is likely to cause some very bad outcomes. Intimidates girls from speaking up when they feel uncomfortable. Rob children of their innocence and distort their reality. Destroy privacy and equality for girls in their formative years. Stifle free speech rights and harm emotional well-being. Interfere with girls' learning about teamwork, leadership, and physical fitness through athletic programs. Force teachers to use pronouns that are not true out of fear of being prosecuted for sexual harassment. Strips parents of the fundamental rights to direct the upbringing of their child. As leaders of the school board, we expect you to speak up if you see something that could harm our students. Please initiate a public forum to discuss pros and cons of this new rule. We need visibility and deliberations for these types of changes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to be moving on to the virtual portion of our public comments. We have two people testifying. First, we have Amelia Dodson.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Dodson.
I told me not to get the, oh, here we go, video. Give me 1 second.
We can hear you.
There we go. Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Dr. Bedell, and members of the Board of Education. For the record, my name is Amelia Dodson. You may remember me from speaking at the July board meeting. I come here again to speak for myself and 4 other teachers who taught at an MSDE identified school and received their MBCT in December 2023. The 5 of us taught at an MSDE identified school for the 22 and 23 and 23 and 24 school year. As noted, we received our MBCT in December 2023. However, because our schools have been removed from the list due to success, we will not be receiving the $7,000 enhancement for the 24-25 school year. As noted when I spoke previously, teachers who received their certification December 22 received their $10,000 and $7,000 enhancements beginning January 2023. Teachers who received their certification December 2023 will not receive their adjustments until September 2024. One of the reasons we accelerated getting MBC achievement within a year was because it was our understanding that we would be eligible for the $7,000 yearly enhancement if our school was removed from the list subsequent to us achieving MBCT status. This was a way for us to enhance our pay since we were working at an MSDE identified school. We have previously sent emails and letters addressing this issue, and we have not received any response to date. I speak here again looking for a response to our concern of why the 5 of us are not receiving the $7,000 enhancement, even though we were NBCT and taught at an MSDE identified school during the 23-24 school year and 22-23 school year. Respectfully, Amelia Dodson, NBCT.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jackie Olson.
Thank you, members of the board and Dr. Bedell. My name is Jackie Olson, and I am a National Board Certified Teacher at Annapolis Elementary School. I'm speaking on behalf of the 5 AACPS teachers who became nationally board certified in December of 2023 and whose schools are being removed from the MSDE identified list of low-performing schools and thus have been told by AACPS that they will not be eligible for the additional $7,000 salary enhancement per year that was repeatedly promised to teachers. Collectively, we have formally made this request via email, certified mail, and by speaking at the July Board of Ed meeting, receiving absolutely zero response from Dr. Bedell or any member of the Board of Ed or AACPS. As Maryland teachers, as well as taxpaying county citizens, we deserve a response to our repeated requests. We completed and submitted all necessary NBCT work during the 2022-2023 academic year, and therefore we have been effectively NBCTs for the entirety of the 2023-2024 school year. This achievement should entitle us to the same compensation benefits as those who certified in December of 2022. Highly qualified NBCTs were incentivized to remain in lower performing schools by allowing them to continue to receive the additional $7,000 even if their school is no longer on the MSDE identified list, which should apply in our cases. We have been disadvantaged compared to those who were certified in December of 2022 as they began receiving their compensation immediately in January of 2023, which not only ensured that they were grandfathered into the $7,000 annual incentive, but also allowed them to receive half an academics year worth of additional pay. The financial picture perpetuated by AACPS and MSDE induced all of us to complete our certifications during one academic year on top of our full-time responsibilities at great personal cost to ourselves and our families, knowing that the list of identified schools fluctuates year to year. The subsequent denial of salary enhancements is effectively a bait and switch on the part of the school district and governing body we have dedicated our professional lives to serving. It is against the spirit of the Maryland blueprint to punish teachers whose dedication contributed to lifting their schools off of the identified list, especially as they seek to remain a positive force within those school communities. The additional workload required to achieve and sustain NBCT status
Can you
deserves
please summarize?
consistent and reliable compensation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So that does conclude the public testimony on non-agenda items this afternoon. So in just a moment, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into closed session. I would like to everyone out there to know that the next general board meeting for this Board of Education will be Wednesday, September the 4th. It'll be a 12 p.m. meeting here in the boardroom. Policy Committee meets on Tuesday, September 3rd. Budget Committee meets Monday, September 16th. Equity, September the 24th. And our students come back, was it Monday the 26th? So thank you, everyone, for being with us this afternoon. Have a great day. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. President, I move that the board go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, to conduct collective bargaining negotiations, or consider matters that relate to the negotiations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Consensus? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.